Hi, I'm Nick. This is Casciotti News. This is our channel where you have an opportunity to see all points of view on specific topics. Today, we've got three amazing topics, three amazing guests. We have Angela with our Libertarian Party. Joe, he's in Idaho. He's with our Green Party. And new to the platform is Sandra. She is an independent businesswoman, no party affiliation. So we're really excited for you to see her views on these topics as well. So topic one, very controversial. The United States House has passed a bill to decriminalize marijuana in the United States. Angela, what say you?
I think this is a fantastic improvement on the current state of affairs. We all know that drugs have won the drug war. It's time for us to put up the white flag. And I know that a lot of people are talking a very pessimistic tone and saying, we don't think that the Senate is going to pass the bill. They're probably right. I think there are probably a lot of bullheaded Republicans who are mad at the Democrats and they're mad at Joe Biden. And I think this is a way to stick it to them, because this is a bill that, although it did have Republican co-sponsor, has been largely pushed by the Democrats. But I just want to remind everyone that this is going to embolden more states to legalize cannabis or decriminalize it, as I would prefer. You know, that's a technicality. And we are seeing the product of nullification. This is really what happens when you take a 10th Amendment position on a topic that was not commented on by the Constitution. States have a right to do whatever they want on that sort of topic. And then eventually the federal government is going to have to fall in line, or else they just become completely irrelevant. So good job, Congress. Come on, Senate. Let's see if we can do better. Let's see if we can pass it. But if not, we're still making progress.
To push back on your point, though, the only thing that I would bring up from what I read in the article, as a libertarian, they're talking about taxation in there. And I'm sure Sandra can go into this as well. I mean, when we talk about taxation, these marijuana companies or these cannabis companies right now, they're being taxed when they sell the product itself on an income tax. They're being taxed there. They're also, the consumers are getting a tax on sales taxes. Now, they're also talking about an additional tax on that. Angela, what say you as a libertarian with all these taxes?
Oh, absolutely. That taxation is terrible. This is a 5% excise tax, which is going to be one of the lowest cannabis taxes we've seen yet. In California, it's up to 30% tax for the person who's purchasing it, which is terrible. However, when we see more legalization, we're also going to see less pressure on small black market enterprises within the country, and it's easier for business owners to operate outside of that tax bracket, and we will see less incentive from people who are running drugs across the border who are also involved in cartels and violent crime. So I still think that this pushes the needle in the direction of freedom, and I support it.
Joe, you're in Idaho. What does this bill being passed by at least the House at this point? They're saying that it's dead on arrival in the Senate, but what does this mean for business from a Green Party perspective?
I'm going to address it from the Idaho perspective. Our entire Washington delegation is going to vote against this. Our House representatives, both of them, already voted against it. Our senators are both going to vote against it. Mike Crapo, he sits on the banking, which is one of the big problems with the marijuana legalization, because he's one of the reasons why marijuana dispensaries cannot use the banks so far. So from an Idaho perspective, especially as a marijuana activist, medical marijuana activist here in the state of Idaho, I think it's a good sign, but it's still problematic because our state is still very much, at least our legislators are still very much anti-marijuana, you know, even with regards to medical. So this is going to continue to be a problem in Idaho, even if it is legalized at the federal level. They still want to maintain control. They want to keep it out of Idaho as much as possible. And there's a million reasons for that. Not all of them are even marijuana related. So I want to see this happen. It's a strong platform issue for almost every third party in the United States. The only ones who are being resistant to it are the Democrats and the Republicans. Party of Socialization and Liberation wants to see it legalized. Libertarians, Greens, Peace and Freedom. They all want to see it legalized.
Sure.
Only people
Sandra,
standing in the way are the Democrats and Republicans.
Sandra, speaking of this, I mean, this is the first time that this is hitting major U.S. lawmakers. Does this prove that the war on drugs was wrong?
It depends what drugs, right? So I think that to me, marijuana is not harming your body in other ways that alcohol does. So if alcohol and tobacco are legal, this is like, I think, like a popular approach. Everybody like that's pro marijuana takes is like, if alcohol and tobacco are legal, then marijuana should be legal too, right? Like if you just put it on a chart and like scientifically proven, I mean data, right? I'm in tech, so I'm always talking from a data perspective, from tech perspective. So I think that if you put it in a chart or like look into data, it has so many benefits. Why wouldn't it be legal? If
Sure,
you're gonna,
there are a lot of benefits that are with marijuana from a businesswoman's perspective. Does this open opportunity, or is this going to harm the economy?
no, it brings opportunity. I mean, I think that the taxation on it, it's crazy, but I understand why they do it. Not that I agree, but I think that they're trying to like put more tax so people, cannot afford it. So I mean, I don't agree with it, but I think it's going to bring a lot of. I mean, it already is, right? Like you have so many weed companies that are now have been IPO. Stocks went through the roof.
Very true. So I was going to move on to Angela. I mean, responding to Sandra, she's a businesswoman. She brings up the points that this is really good for the economy. I mean, this is for folks that may be out of work right now. I mean, we're talking about 11 million people who are still out of work from the coronavirus. Will this add to job growth?
Absolutely. There are people who will be able to do driving for delivery services. There are people who can work in the dispensaries, people who can open dispensaries. People who've been trying to get their product to the market for the past 2 years will finally be able to do so, because there are a lot of places who are pushing not just, weed, trim, things you smoke, but high-end cannabis products, things that have a low THC count that you can snack on, medicinal purposes. This will open up so many jobs for people in many different income brackets. And yeah, it'll also be really great for the stock market.
Sure. Joe, to that point, though, is it going to have an environmental impact when they change a lot of this land over? I mean, you hear it being called weed for a reason. It has been in the past a destructive plant. I mean, there's a lot of studies that have come out against weed from a farmer's perspective. Will this harm the environment and actual crop growing land?
One of the nice things about the legalization of marijuana is it paves the way for hemp as well. Hemp is a very rehabilitative product that they're able to farm, create. Hemp oil, CBD oil comes out of the hemp. So you won't just be looking at the marijuana product as a result of the farmland conversion over to these other products. One of the usual issues where farmers come out to speak against the medical marijuana is the issue of Roundup Ready and the fact that most of this farmland has so much Roundup and pesticides embedded in it that are actually detrimental to the use of the THC if it's grown on that land prior to that saturation being removed. The glyphosates in medicinal marijuana is known to hurt people really bad. So it's one of those, they need to go through the process of actually cleaning up the land before they convert it over to medicinal marijuana crops, which is one of the reasons why they like to go into virgin areas, wilderness territory, in order to grow these crops for safety reasons.
Sure. So, Sandra, the United States is a global leader, the number one superpower. What does this send? What signal does this send to the rest of the world?
So we're catching up with the trend. I mean, marijuana is, it's legal in other countries, Amsterdam, and, I think that they had a theory of making it legal, would it like harm people? It's not harming anybody out there. It's not going to harm anybody here. I think that, like drugs have had depending on what drugs, again, but they have had a bad propaganda, and I would encourage everybody to watch the psychedelics like Netflix episode, which is a good documentary. It has studies, data that will show you why US took that position on drugs, and also made 150 plus countries take that position on drugs and go so hard on it. So I mean, you also, besides just watching the news and your normal CNN and Fox, I think that you have to go and look deeper on those topics.